Welcome to IS112 Computer Networks. For this presentation, we'll take a look at some of the copper Cat5 network media best practices. Let's begin. Copper Cat network media is the standard used in organizations to connect network devices together. Chances are, if you have a desktop PC at home, it is connected to the internet/network with copper Cat5 network cable. We will review some of the best practices with copper Cat media. What is an advantage or disadvantage of homemade Cat5 network wiring? In the diagram right here, this diagram right here is homemade or cable. You'll know it's homemade cable because of the ends were placed on the wire with no molding. Okay, so you can see that they were added on the ends. One of the biggest advantages of a homemade Cat5 cable is that you can make it a custom length. Okay, so let's say you need to run some cable and it needs to be 55 feet in length. You can make it exactly 55 feet, cut both ends, and insert the ends on, make the ends for it, and you're ready to go. Additionally, another advantage is you can install whatever ends are needed. Maybe instead of the ends that you see right here, maybe you need the wall jack ends, and you can just do that. Some people will say that the cost is cheaper. This is normally not true when you include your labor costs. If you want to consider your time as free, but that is actually not true. What is the actual cost of making homemade network wire? When you include the person's wage to create the cables, in most cases it is not worth the time. Also, time troubleshooting is expensive and testing. So homemade may cost more because of this. But if it's just in special case situations, you're going to have to make homemade network wire. Like if you're putting in security cameras or maybe even special wireless access points, they may need to be custom lengths. Okay. Where would you use homemade Cat network wiring? Custom-made wiring is used when wiring rooms, buildings, etc. that need a custom length and custom ends. Where would you use store-bought Cat network cabling? Okay, and that's right here, an example of store-bought. You see the molded ends right at the end here. And where would you use this? Store-bought wiring is commonly used as patch cables. For example, you may use it to connect a PC to a wall jack, or you can use it to connect a patch panel port to a switch. Do's and don'ts. What are some items that you should not do with Cat network wiring? Mixing. There are many things you should avoid. One mistake would be to mix Cat5 wire with Cat6 wire. You need to use the same Cat5 or Cat6 wire throughout. For example, if you use both Cat5 and Cat6, the best speed you can obtain is the Cat5 speed. Bending. Tight or sharp bends should always be avoided, like in the diagram here. This places unnecessary stress on the cabling and could result in network downgrades or failures. Many times, people ruin their own wire, but a professional installer have their advantages, including more thorough testing. There are two basic types of Cat5 wire network cables. The normal one is illustrated above. Okay, you look at this one right here. The key is the wires. If you look at this one here, you have the certain color combinations. These wires need to be in this exact wire for an RJ45 male end. The normal end is the one that is used in almost all situations. So if you have a PC going to a switch, PC going to a wall jack going to a switch, it's normally a normal end. The crossover cable, what you'll notice is with the crossover cable, you'll notice right here it's saying you're swapping the green and the orange. As you can see, this green one right here and this orange one are swapped to make the crossover cable. When would you use a crossover cable? It's for special cases. For example, if you had two standalone PCs and you wish to connect their network cards together to form a basic peer-to-peer network, you would need to use a crossover end. In this example, you do not need to have a switch or hub to connect the two devices together. Let's now go over how to make a cable. Step 1, you need to cut the cable to the desired length. Make sure you leave a little extra in case you need to redo an end. Carefully remove the outer jacket. That's the little plastic right here. Remove this back a ways until you see the inside wires. The key point is do not cut the inside wires. So this is what you'd end up with these inside wires with no jacket on them. Next, untwist the pair so that they will lay flat between your fingers. For easier handling, cut the wires so that they are all 3/4 of an inch long from the base of the jacket and even in length. So you got all these wires, they're even in length, and they're cut. Arrange the wires based on the wiring specifications you are following. So you have to have exactly every one of these wires. This first color coded wire, brown stripe, must be pin 1. Orange must be pin 2. Green stripe must be pin 3. Okay, so you see it has to be specifically in that order. Okay, in this case, let's look at it in detail here. We have every one of these wires. We have the white orange, the white green, the blue, the white blue, the green, the white brown, and the brown. That's the order that you need to make a standard wire. So if you keep them in this order, you're good to go. I always recommend trying to do this in a clearly lit area Sometimes you're working on wiring and it may be outside. If it's really bright sunshine, you might need sunglasses to really tell what colored wires you're dealing with. Now this is the tricky step. You need to press all the wires flat between your thumb and forefinger. See, and you get them all lined up. Verify the colors are remained in the correct order. Cut the top of the wires even. This right here, they all need to be even. Cut the top of these wires evenly so that they're a 1/2 inch long from the base of the jacket. As the jacket needs to go into the connector for about 1/8 of an inch, meaning that you have only 1/2 inch of room for the individual cables. Leaving more than 1/2 inch untwisted can jeopardize connectivity and quality. Ensure that the cut leaves the wires even and clean. Failure to do so may cause the wire not to make contact inside the jack and could lead to wrongly guided cores inside the plug. So this is the tricky part. Now you're ready to crimp the wires into the connector. Of course, you have to have a crimper tool. There's an example of one right here. This will give the handle a firm squeeze. You should hear a ratcheting noise as you continue. Once you have completed the crimp, the handle will reset to the open position to ensure all pins are set. Some prefer to double crimp by repeating the step. Do this for both ends of the wire. Test. The most important step is to test your wire. Using CAT testing equipment, verify that the network wire is good to go. If you skip this step, you're risking network problems. In this case, we use the fluke device. So the first thing we do is turn on the fluke. The number on top should match the numbers on the bottom if it's a straight through or standard wiring. Okay, so what you see in diagram 1, okay, and of course this one's testing. You can see this kind of is a little bit unusual here. For this example, we have a patch cable being tested, and it's store-bought. Okay, let's say we were having some problems with this wire. You have a terminator end, and then you also have the CAT equipment. Okay. Next, you turn it on and run the test, and what you'll see is, if it's set up correctly, you'll see 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 6 to 6, 4 to 4, 5 to 5, 7 to 7, and 8 to 8. Another thing with good testing equipment, it'll even tell you the length of it. In this case, it was a 2-foot patch cable. The number on the top should match the numbers on the bottom if it's a straight through. The line between each number, for example, number 1 and bottom 2, should be connecting the two numbers. If the wire is broken somewhere, the two numbers will not be connected, and the end that's not connected is where the wire is broken. When we make our own wires, we are wiring numbers. The wire numbering will be in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, if you hit, I'm sorry, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 5, 7, 8. If you hit the up and down wires, it will narrow in on each pair and test them the length. Pair 1, pair 2 could be 2 feet, while pairs 3 and 6 could be 1 feet. It helps when the wire is broken and you want to know exactly how far the break is. If you don't have the other end connected, you see that the end that you're connected to. You'll still be able to see if the wire is broken if one of the lines above a number is shorter than the other. Same goes for a switch. So the key here is to test, make sure your wire is good, and then you're ready to go. In summary, this presentation focuses to show how actual work world best practices with copper Cat5 network media. Please remember that this takes patience, the right equipment, standards, and most importantly, testing. In the long run, this allows the network to be more reliable and more maintainable. This concludes this presentation, and always try to apply what you have learned this week outside the classroom, especially testing.